Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm James Holland. Thanks for stopping by. Today we want to talk about a very serious topic that either you or someone you know probably struggles with. It's something that has affected their life and it's made things harder for them. Of course, I'm talking about
moment of silence.
Having hooded eyes. I have hooded eyes, I have downturned eyes, I have sad eyes. They're droopy, they're sad, they're hooded. And so that's something I've had to deal with. Having hooded eyes can feel a lot like you're not invited to a party. It can feel like you can't do everything else that everyone else can do. But in this video, I want to show you all the tips, tricks, hints that I use to make sure that my eyes don't look hooded, to make sure they look snatched and perfect and ready to go, even though they're sad and droopy IRL. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. Hold on your brushes, it's makeup time. So in my videos, I talk a lot about my hooded eyes. For every eyeshadow look, I talk about what I do and the tips and tricks that I have. And so I do those things throughout my videos. But if you don't want to go through each of my videos, which you should, excuse me, and you just want a dedicated place where I talk about all the different things I use for my hooded eyes, this is the right place. So I'm making this video just specifically for if you have hooded eyes, if you have droopy eyes, what do you do? How do you fix it? How do you do all the things that everybody else does? How can you be invited to the same party? So let's start with, of course, the most important part when you're dealing with hooded eyes, which brushes to use. When you have hooded eyes in a small lid space, you need to be careful about which brushes you're using. You can't just use huge brushes that are gonna be huge washes of color blending because you don't have a lot of blending space. So you want to make sure that you're using brushes that are appropriate. So let's talk about brushes. Most of these are Morphe brushes. I know that some people don't like Morphe brushes. So you can find alternative. I'm mostly talking about shape, size, and then I will give you the Morphe code if you want to use that. Most of them are Morphe brushes. I like Morphe brushes because they're relatively inexpensive, and I feel like if they get destroyed, like while I'm cleaning them, I can just toss them. It's not like I spent $20, $30 on a brush. I spent $4 on a brush. It's not that big of a deal. But if you want some other higher quality, higher end brushes, I use a lot of higher end face brushes. There are higher end brushes out there available. Sigma does a great job with brushes. There are certain ColourPop brushes that do a great job. Marc Jacobs has some great eye brushes, but if you were looking for specific smaller brushes for hooded eyes, I got you, fam. Now this is the first brush I want to talk about. This is a blending brush. It is a M441 brush. Now every person who has eyes, and that's all of us, you should have some sort of blending brush. And I like this big fluffy blender because it is not completely round. It is tapered. So you've got a little bit of a taper and you can really get in here and just kind of get into where you need to place your crease. You have a little bit more precision than if you were to have like a huge brush like, let me show you. This M518 brush, which is super dirty and it's super wide. That's perfect for like huge washes of color if you just want to put one color. But if you really want something that's precise, that can give you a nice transition color that you can blend nicely with, this M441 brush does a really great job. The other blending brushes I want to mention are a little bit smaller. The first blending brush of the M507 brush, this brush is perfect if you want to go into the outer corner or deepen up that crease. You can get in here and really blend well. Then we've got a pointed blender. This is an M507 brush. You can get really, really precise into this crease when you're creating a new crease here. You point it at the end, so you can even create a little bit of a liner moment when you're dealing with this. It's still a blender, so you're still gonna be able to blend around, but you get a lot more precision when you're using a brush like that. This next brush is a really great brush if you want to blend out color. It is JH39. Technically, it's a pencil brush that goes for the inner corner, but I like to use it as a hooded eye person to just kind of run it over a color and really blend in that color, really buff it out. A lot of times people use these larger pencil brushes that have flat heads to kind of buff out color and blend out really, really bright colors. But this one is perfect if you have small lid space, so you can really get in there. You don't have a lot of space to work with, right? So you can just kind of buff it out, blend it out. This is, again, GH39 brush. Are you writing all this down? Because you should be writing it down. It's important. And then, of course, we have my favorite brush ever if you're trying to create really blended in a very small amount of space. And this is a Morphe M562 brush. It's a very small blender brush. So this is perfect for the outer corner just to blend everything in. It's very small. You can smoke out any kind of liner that you have. You can create a really nice smoky eye, and you can even come underneath here and just kind of blend everything all down in here. This is one of my favorite brushes because it is so small. I know I have a very small lid space, so I can't do a lot with it. I need to make sure that the brushes that I have are small enough to do what I need to do. So I go from, you know, the M441 brush that's a little bit larger and then go all the way down to that last brush that I showed you. They're all relatively small. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's go ahead and create kind of a nice soft glam eye, and then I'll show you how to work with shimmer, and then we'll worry about eyeliner last. So I'm going to show you all those different things.
Keep on watching. Woo!
Okay, so let's get into this little soft glam moment. We are going to be taking the KKW Classic palette. This is a really great nude palette. You can see here you've got some warm tones, some cool tones. There are other great neutral palettes, the Hip.L palette. So I'm pre-filming all this content because I'm getting a nose job in a couple days, and so these are the last few videos I'm getting out for the month of February, and then allowing my nose to heal. So it's pretty exciting. I'm excited about it. You'll see a few more videos. The new one's coming. We're excited about it. Okay, enough talking. We're gonna go into this pink shade here. This is just a nice transition color. We are gonna take a little bit of that color. Taking my first brush, that M441 brush. Like I said, it's a more of a precise blender, and I'm going into the crease. Now you'll notice I have a pretty significant space from my eyebrow to my lash, and that is because I spent a lot of time shaping my brows in order to give me the most space possible. So if you have low brows, if you have low hanging brows, that may be something you want to consider, is getting eyebrows done, working on shaping them a little bit higher, because not only is it going to lift your face, but it's going to give you more space to work with. So let's go ahead and just do a little nice color wash to begin this nice transition shade. I'm coming in all the way. This is just a nice pinky shade. And I'm not going all the way up into the brow bone. I'm leaving a little bit because I do want that brow bone to be pronounced, but I am coming pretty high up. And what you can do is you can take the pointed flat end and you can really get into the crease and really deepen up that crease like this. Or then if you really want to blend it well, what you can do is you can turn it like this, and again, just go like this, and it'll blend everything softly because it is a little tapered at the end. Okay, so once you've got that initial color wash on your eye, you're gonna wanna deepen up the crease. Obviously, you normally don't have a crease, but if you will look up and look down, you'll see where your brow bone is, and that's where you wanna place your crease, where your brow bone is, right here. You're creating a new lid space. So my normal lid space, if you look, is here, right? You see the hood, it comes down. But if I go up and just build right here, I can create a new space. I'm going to take this red color and I'm just going to deepen up this color right underneath that transition shade. And now I'm using the M507 brush, which is that smaller blender. It's important to make sure that you're building slowly as well. Don't be dunking your brush in, right? And then just throwing it on your eye.
What's wrong with you? Mama, did you not be...
Learn to build, blend carefully and calmly and slowly, and you'll be much happier with the result. Another thing, if you have downturned eyes, see my eye is like sad and droopy, and then on this side it's raising up a little bit, and that's because when I do this color here, when I'm gonna build and blend, it's obviously not blended yet, but when I build, I'm going to pull it up like this and over. And what that does is it focuses this darker color up here and it brings my eye shape up and pulls everything whoop, as opposed to this side it's like down. And if you'll notice while I'm doing this, every few seconds I'm going to be looking straight on into the mirror. I'm going to make sure that what I'm doing isn't going to be covered up by the hood. I'm looking straight on, I'm creating what I need to create, but I'm doing so, okay, I need to place shadow a little bit higher here, I need to place it a little bit lower there, and just work working with my eye shape rather than against it. Okay, so now let's deepen that outer V just a little bit more. I'm gonna take this darker shade here and I'm going to place it on my lid in the outer corner and just blend inward. And then of course, again, I'm pulling it up a little higher, and that has been like a game changer as far as my eye shape goes. It pulls my eye so far up, creating shadow and creating dimension of a brow bone where there really isn't one because it's more just my hood chilling there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is work on this lid here. Now, you can absolutely cut the crease. I have a million videos on cutting the crease. In a lot of my eyeshadow tutorials, I cut the crease. You can go back and watch any of those. I have a dedicated video that I made a really long time ago on cutting the crease. I use the same technique. I still use my MAC 231 brush to do that. Very easy. You're just gonna go and pull it all around with whatever you're going to use, whether that's your eye primer, whether that's your concealer, anything like that. But you don't always have to do that. And especially with soft glam moments, you can still create that cut crease without actually cutting the crease. Those work better if you're doing a really heavy color. But if you are using a soft glam palette or if you're working with soft glam, that may be a little unnecessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lightest shade and I'm taking an M124 brush. This is another brush that I use. This is a very small, so I'm not going to use a huge shadow brush to it doesn't really work because I'm not working with a lot of space. I'm just gonna place that down. This is an all matte moment. You know, I play a lot with all mattes. There's something about soft glam with all mattes that I just love. So if you see, all I did was come over where my crease is. So my crease is here, but I took the shadow and I went way higher and pulled it way up. And that's creating a new lid space. And now the whole time, again, I'm gonna be looking in the mirror straight on. I wanna make sure that the lid I'm creating is still gonna be able to be seen when I have my eyes open. I don't wanna do all the work like this and then open my eyes and it's completely gone. It doesn't help. It's like, what's the point of doing that? Okay, so now what we're gonna do now that we've pretty much placed that color is I'm gonna go back into my second color that I used. So it's this red one, and I'm taking this pointy blender brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go just over on top of that lightest shade that I just put on the lid. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna add a little more dimension and make it look more like an actual lid and less like a hooded lid. This is kind of a pro tip, I guess, for you. So just take that darker transition shade that you use and go over the lid. And you see, it just creates more of a natural lid. So you see the difference between my two eyes here. I've got this eye over here, sad, droopy, whatever. And then this eye, as we're going through, you can see that this looks like my actual brow bone when it's, girl, it's not. We're fooling them. This is not. This is my lid space down here. This is where my hooded lid is. All of this is flat. There's not really a lot of definition, but I've created definition here where there is none. So now let's go ahead and add some more colors to the lid. I'm going to take this pink here that I use as a transition shade and just blend this into the darkest shade. All right, let me quickly do the lower lash line here. I'm going to go with the darkest shade out in the corner. To do this lower lash line, I'm using the M562 brush. Going into the second transition shade that I use, and then to the lightest transition shade. And that's your matte eye, guys. It's really, really easy to do as long as you are constantly, again, looking in the mirror, making sure that what you are doing is not gonna be covered up in the end. As long as you're creating those dimensions with those multiple transition colors, you're creating a new lid, you're creating a new brow bone, and you can do all of that without having to do something really fancy. It's super easy. But let's say you wanna add a little bit of shimmer to this lid. You don't want an all matte eye. You want something that is a little more fun, you know, going out to the club or to church. You want to sparkle for Jesus. But you need to make sure if you are going to use shimmer, I would suggest using a primer underneath. So I wouldn't put the matte shadow down. I would put a primer down. I would cut the crease and then put your shimmer on, because when you have hooded lids, you have a tendency to transfer. So every time you blink, it's going to transfer everywhere. It's going to end up all up in this brow, and it's going to ruin the illusion of what you've created. But if you are like obsessed and you need to put shimmer on your lid and you don't want to cut the crease, the other thing I suggest is using a liquid shimmer product. So the reason I like using liquid shimmer products is that they stay in place. Once they're there and they're not really going to transfer. So of course, Stila makes some really great ones. Danessa Myricks makes some great ones. House Labs has great ones. So what we're going to do today, I'm just going to use this Stila because that's pretty much available everywhere. You can get that at any Ulta. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to on my eye, you know. I'm going to take a little bit on my finger. If you want to put it on a tray, you can put it on a tray, you can put it on a napkin, you can put it really anywhere. And I'm going to take that same brush that I was using before, a little bit on my brush, and I'm going to just place it on my eye. And I'm going to do so very carefully. And I'm not going to open my eye or move my eye or do anything. As I know liquid shadow is one of those things that not a lot of people get into. Maybe they don't have exposure to it or they don't feel like it's going to work for them. But it really does a great job of staying put, which is important if you have hooded lids. You don't want a lot of transfer, and when you use just regular shimmers without a primer, you don't cut the crease, which a lot of people don't like cutting the crease. They don't know how to cut the crease. You can get some transfer, and you don't want that transfer to happen. So now, after that's done, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm going to go back over it with the middle transition shade that I used. It's the same exact process here, so that I still create that lid space. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and just blend it together. Okay, and that's it with shimmer. You can see definitely it's going to stay put. You're not going to have that transfer. I definitely recommend using a liquid shimmer. You can absolutely use the regular shimmers in a palette. You just have to make sure that they are quality, number one, and then also if you lay down a primer as a base, then you can place the shimmer on and it'll stick to it a little more and you won't get that transfer. It's when you start playing around with shimmers just on the lid that they tend to go everywhere if you have hooded lids. Okay guys, that is pretty much it for the lid with the shimmer. Everything looks nice and beautiful. You can see the difference between this eye, which is sad and lonely, and then this side, which has the shimmer. You can see the lid when I'm looking at you straight on. You see the lid, you see the color, all of that is beautiful. Let's talk about the one thing that everyone hates if you have hooded eyes, and that is liner. So liner should not be a scary thing, but even for people without hooded eyes, it's like terrifying.
A lot of people will be scared here. A lot of people will be scared.
So I'm going to show you how I do liner. A few different liner options that you can use when you're doing liner. So I usually lean toward felt tip or liquid liners. Liquid liners take a very long time to dry. When you have that issue and you have hooded lids and you're like sitting there and you like someone calls for you, your cat jumps up here and you're like, oh my god, and then you look up and it's like destroyed and then your life is over and you can't go anywhere. You become a hermit and then you die alone. So you want to make sure you got something that dries down really quickly. I like felt tip liners. Felt tip liners have a tendency to dry out the container itself really quickly, so there are felt liners that I don't appreciate. I do like the House Labs felt liner, which is this one right here. I also like the Beauty Bakery felt tip liner, the Lollipop liner. Today we are going to use a liquid liner, and that's because I feel like I can get a really black solid matte line. I like things where it's like the thinner it can get, the thinner I like it, because then I can really work with it and build it. Once again, like I said, it's always easier to build than to take back away.
Don't be shy, put some more. Put some more.
This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills liner. Huda Beauty also has their Life liner. I don't tap anything. I don't like make a stamp or anything because I have hooded lids, so I have to be very careful about the way that I do this. So the way that I do this is I'm going to close my eyes, right? I'm going to keep them closed like this, and I'm going to look where my hood is. Obviously, I've created a new hood, right? So it's a little difficult for me to even see where my hood is, but I look where my hood is, and I'm going to come outside of that to draw that first initial line. See where the end of my brow ends. I see where my lower lash line goes up. That's the angle that I want, and I want it to go toward and outside the hood. I'm going to draw my first initial line. So now what I'm going to do is just clean up that outer edge here. And then right where this tail meets my hood, I'm going to draw my line in. So you see the majority of my wing is going to be outside where my hood is. And then I'm going to take it and just draw a thin line, which is why I like the Anastasia, because you can draw a really super thin line and just connect that all the way. The problem that most people make when they have hooded lids is, number one, they try to use eyeliner by itself, which is a whole nother video. I can do a video, I'll do another one that's specifically about eyeliner and doing it without any other eye makeup. There's just very specific things you have to do. You have to create that space. You have to create that negative space for your lid. You have to make sure that that's there. The thing is, they come too far in where their hood is and it's just gonna create an issue. So what you have to kind of do is create this banana shape, right? So it looks, you've got a larger wing and then you just create very, very thin line all the way through so that when you open your eyes, you see the lid, you see that space, you see all the shimmer, you see all that work you've done, and you still see that nice wing. The reason I like the Anastasia is because it dries down really quickly and I don't have to sit here like forever and wait for that to dry. But like I said, House Labs has a really good one. Beauty Bakery has a really good one. Felt tip is a little bit thicker, so you just have to be careful when you're drawing that on to make sure this part right here is all really super thin. Or if it's not super thin, you're gonna lose all the work that you did, and it's kind of pointless to even do all that work if you're just gonna create a dark black line all the way through. Okay guys, let me throw on this other eye. Hopefully I'll remember everything that I did, and I'll be right back and we'll talk a little bit more about some hooded eye tips and tricks. Alright guys, and we're back. I did the other eye, pretty much all done with everything. So you can see how I've created lid space, I've done the wing, I've done it all. You really can have it all.
Oh my god! Da, 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 da.
It's really simple to just, if you follow those instructions, that will help you. I promise you will end up looking just as snatched. You will have that lid space that you've been so desperately looking for. Let's talk for a second about lashes. They're not something you have to wear at all if you don't like lashes, but a lot of people like wearing lashes, so I'm going to show you some different styles of lashes that work for hooded eyes. Not all lashes are going to be the best for hooded eyes. Now, can you wear every style lash? You can do whatever you want. But if you don't want to hide all the work that you've been doing on your lids, you want to create a very specific eye lash. So I got a couple just to show you the style. These are all Lily lashes I'm showing you. There are many, 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 many good lash brands. I just wanted to show you the style and how they look so that you can see what you're looking for. So the first one here, right here, you see how on this side it's longer than on this side. This is going to create a nice flared effect. You want a flared lash so that when you put it on, it doesn't cover all the work that you've done. So if you use just a regular lash that has just goes out like that, what is going to end up happening is you're going to cover everything and you're going to look more hooded than you are. But if you take a flared lash, what it ends up doing is we're gonna sit it there. What it does is you can still see all the work that's being done here. I try not to blink. Don't blink, don't blink. You can see all the work that's still being done, and then you still have that nice lash moment. It still gives you all that nice lash without being like overwhelming. Another style here, it's the same type of thing here, but you see these are a little more full. You're not as grouped together. In tufts, if you like that style, again, it's the same flared thing. And then if you want to go extreme, you can absolutely go extreme. You can absolutely go way long, right? But you see, even though it's full, you still have that flare. You want the flare. You want to have lashes that are longer on the outside than inside. It's going to pull your eyes up. It's going to give you that cat eye shape. And then it's also not going to cover up everything. So let me throw on some of these lashes and we'll be done with this look. You made it. Alright guys, we are finished. I put the lashes on and this is the finished look. Like I said, it's super easy to do. You do not have to be sad about having hooded, downturned eyes. You can use makeup and just different techniques to do everything that everyone else does. Don't let anyone kick you out of the club. We have a new gang. We have a new club going on. It's called the Hooded Eye Gang. If you're a member of the Hooded Eye Gang, leave a comment down below. Let me know. I know a lot of times you can feel left out when you have hooded, downturned, saggy eyes, but you don't have to be left out. You can be part of my gang. Be a part of the Hooded Eye Gang. If you like this video, please leave me a comment down below. Like this video. Subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you found any of this helpful. Let me know if you use this tutorial to create a look. Tag me on Instagram, tag me on Twitter. I love seeing those. Those are like the coolest thing when I see somebody like, oh, I followed your tutorial and I made this look. So I make them so that you can get tips and tricks. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you guys so much for sticking around in this long video. If you're a member of the Hooded Eye Gang, or even if you're not a member of the Hooded Eye Gang, because, you know, we're all welcome here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.